mandatory. Absolutely not. Classroom work comes first. If you're falling behind, this is the first thing you ought to throw on the ass heap and say, I'm not doing it. Yeah, am I kind of clear on that? Okay. Now, with that said, I think it's important that you do dive into other CAD software. And I mentioned this clear at the start. AutoCAD's going to take you really probably around 2 years before you feel really, really comfortable with it. You open it up and you're shaking hands with it each morning saying, hello, friend, let's get to work today. And it takes about 2 years for that. The second software you learn, you can learn in half that time. And then the third one, half that time again. And the fourth one, half that time again. And after a while, it gets to be a skill to where you can teach yourself CAD very easily. That's in essence why I do this. I'm getting you exposure to it. Not so much that you're going to be a great Revit operator, but that when you go to work to your place of employment, whatever CAD software they give you, your startup time in that software should be short. Okay? Now, by that example, I can't predict what they're going to have. Like you go work for the ITD, you're going to be using AutoCAD and MicroStation, those two. Okay? And probably Inroads, which is an attach on to MicroStation. Are we going to do MicroStation in here? No, we're not. But you should be up and running on it in a week or so because you're going to learn it. In essence, all of these CAD softwares are the same. I mean, a circle is a circle is a circle. A duck's a duck, right? If it quacks, it's a duck. Same thing. You just got to know what it should do, go look for it, find it, and then apply it. Another example might be in MicroStation. Do they think they have the trim command in there? MicroStation's main competitor to AutoCAD. Probably half of you will be working in MicroStation when you leave here. Yeah, it has trim in there, but it's called cut. Okay. Do you select your boundary edge or cutting edge first or the item to trim? It's totally 180 degrees from AutoCAD. You select the item to trim first, the cutting edge second. Okay. And it's just a matter of saying, you know, this should have trim in here. Jump into help, find it, learn how to run. Okay? And that's how all of these are. Okay? Now, I gave you this file just because we need the height dimension. We're going to be drafting, or really drafting is not the right word for this. It's more like Xboxing. It's a video game. In many instances, people think that. But it's really a modeler. Okay? So we will be doing models. And that's where the industry is really trying to go, is not have drafters, have modelers. Because if you can put together a 3D model of an object, we can have the computer generate the drafting for you. That's what we're really trying to get to. So I draw a three-dimensional wall, and then I say, oh, I'm going to look at it for this direction. We don't draw the wall. It projects the wall for us and gives us the view. And AutoCAD will do that stuff too, and you'll find that out next semester. But that's in essence what the whole industry has been striving for this for 30 years. It's not quite there yet, but it's getting close. You folks in your careers will see this. I'm pretty confident of it. This is one thing. How many of you heard in kindergarten, you must know the metric system? Okay. I heard it in kindergarten or somewhere in there. Got to know it. Are we using the metric system here? No, we're not. Okay, so there's flat lying to you. Here, for years and years, I would have said, do you need to know 3D? No, you don't. I don't say that anymore. I really think in the next 5 to 10 years, drafting is not really going to be a 2D arena. Okay. We even saw Twin Falls, which if you guys go work somewhere else and you come back to Idaho, you're going to find out Idaho is generally a little behind in technology. Mostly because we're smaller communities, we don't have big dollars. And there's good and bad to both systems. I actually like working where we don't have all this stuff. But without a doubt, Twin Falls, 5 years ago, almost every firm in here was doing 3D drafting of some form or fashion. Okay. I think right now you would be hard pressed to go into any engineering or architectural office where 3D is not the first approach that we take on a project. Okay. So with that said, we got to get used to that. We need these height dimensions. We're not going to use this as a drawing, but we're going to base it on this. Notice that the wall height from the finished floor on this drawing to the top of the wall is 8 foot 1 1/8. Okay, we're going to need that. So we've got the height of our wall. This is the height, by the way, of a framed wall. Okay, they're not done at 8 foot, they're not done at 9 foot, they're done at 8 foot 1 1/8 or 9 foot 1 1/8. Now the reason for that is we're going to put drywall on the top, we're going to put carpet or tile or something like that on the bottom, and that gives us 8 foot clear distance. That's why these walls are built to these weird dimensions. Additionally, you see the exterior wall here, we're going to use a 2x6, and we are going to draw it as if there's nothing on the outside, because this is drawn for the framers. Okay. So when we draw that, we've got a 2x6, which is 5.5 inches wide, and you can measure that right on the drawing, and then it's got a 1/2 inch of drywall on the inside of it, so that's 6 inches. We're going to draw that wall at 6 inches wide. Now when we go to draw an interior wall, it's generally a 2x4, which is 3.5 inches wide, and it has 1/2 inch sheetrock on both sides. So we'll draw it at 4.5 inches. We want them in the finished condition on the inside. That way when we put a hallway, which has to be 36 inches wide, we get that. Okay? Instead of having the studs at 36 and then we take an inch out of it, they red flag the job and you're done. Okay? You got to fix it. Okay? So there's a lot of different little nuances. This is not going to be an architectural class. Okay? So if you're wondering about stuff, sure, I can field those questions. I'm fairly familiar with this, especially the residential end, and I can answer those questions. But that's really drafting 156, which we do in the spring. Okay. This is going to be a software session. Okay. So if you do have questions, feel free to ask them. I may push you off and say, go do some research here or here or whatever. Okay. So we're going to deal with that. So those are the two things we need right now. And I just wanted you to have this because we're going to base all of our heights off of this. Okay. So this is a removed section, right? What you're looking at here. Okay, so that's all I wanted to talk about there. Okay, so you can just minimize that or close it. Let's open Revit and get to our open screen. Now, we don't have enough time where we're only doing this an hour a week. How many weeks we got left? Like 3. So we're going to have like 4 sessions before the end of the semester. We're not going to learn this whole thing in those 4 weeks. If you want to learn this, I'm going to expect that you do a couple hours during the week outside of what we're doing. If you don't think you have the time for it, you need to stay up on class, pay attention to this hour. At least you're starting to get some of the knowledge and terminology. Don't do the work, but you're going to fall behind. Don't expect anything to be completed. We'll pick this up next semester also and do the first month of Revit before we switch to something else, and we'll probably go straight to Civil 3D at that point. That we should be able to model most of this house in those 7, 8 deals. Okay? So keep in mind we'll have that. Now, I will expect you to kind of, like I said, keep going on the outside. If you want to know more information about specific tools, I do have this text. It's a pretty all-inclusive text. It's for version 2018, which is almost identical to the 19. We keep it in this, what do you call that thing, a bookshelf? We keep it in that over there. If you use it, please take it to your desk, use it, put it back when you're done so another student has access to it. To be honest with you, I've learned most of this through YouTube. There's everything and anything you want on YouTube on this program out there. I've used a lot of stuff like this, so you know I didn't have to go to really a technical book. So let's look at Revit. You're going to see a lot of similarities between AutoCAD and Revit. Does everybody have this screen up? Again, it's a lot like what you're normally used to. I would suggest that you maybe go through these sample projects and see what some of the results can be. There's a couple terms we need to know. First thing, what's a family? A family is a group of items that are similar. So we can have families of walls, where I have a 2x6 wall, a 2x4 wall, a CMU wall, whatever the case might be. I can have families of windows, so where I can have horizontal sliders, vertical sliders. They're just like items. And this is a memory saving device for these programs, because if we had 3D models of every single one, you would just bog this machine down. And what it does is it basically uses the same block for everything and then just changes maybe how it slides or whatever the case might be. Okay, so it's a memory saving device. Families is where we're going to download all our material. Like interior furniture, trusses, things of that nature. So what we want to do, just to get started, to go into your architectural template right here. Just click into that. Now, this is the only time we'll use this. We're going to do a save on this thing, and from now on, you'll be open the project file. Okay, so what we're looking at here is the floor plan, or what we call a plan view. So you're looking on a top view as far as multi-view goes. We're going to start drafting the first floor plan today. A floor plan, when you look at it, it will look, and I'm sure most of you have seen these things. So this sheet that I gave you, here's a floor plan. This is a top view, that's a full section. Okay, just so you know where the view happens. When we look at a floor plan, what we've done is we've taken a wall, we cut it 4 feet high. Okay, so you come out here, you measure up 4 feet, and we're going to cut this wall off and throw the ceiling and everything away, and we're looking down on the structure. So this is a full section taking 4 foot off the floor. The reason we take it 4 feet off the floor is it gets us above cabinets, it makes sure we intersect the windows and all the doors so we can display them. That's why this cut is taken at this part. So when you see a floor plan, full section, 4 foot off the floor. Okay, that's what we're going to start drawing today. Now you do have some other views that are given to you. The front one right here, this is your front view, and it's a multi-view. True size and shape, looking at the front of the object. So the floor plan's a top view, this is a front view. If you turn a couple pages, you're going to see a rear elevation, and that's just a rear view on multi-view. Okay. So keep in mind, everything we're talking about, this glass box, it's still sitting around this house. We're still got a glass box, we're still doing multi-view. Now, one other thing before I jump into running this program. Revit, ArchiCAD, Autodesk Architectural. I could go on and on. There's many of these. These are all three-dimensional architectural programs. They're meant for the architectural world. Okay, if I'm doing a widget like we're drawing now, I'm not using Revit. Okay, I'm using something else like AutoCAD. Okay, so keep in mind, this is meant for the architectural world. All of these have one thing in common. They are what we call BIMs. And this is really where the industry's going. This stands for Building Information Model. You're going to hear this term a lot. Okay. Can you run BIM software? What it's trying to do is, again, have a three-dimensional object. The computer does the drafting for you, and in addition, it has a database of information that goes behind it. So when you put a wall in there, it knows that wall has studs at 16 inches on center, so it knows how many studs are there, knows it's got 2 top plates, 1 bottom plate, knows it's got gypsum on the sides or sheetrock, and you can then punch out a parts list and it will give it to you. So it's got all the information on the building. The idea being, you model it, that produces the drafting, you build it, this file goes to the owner, and they use it to control the building, because we can turn heaters on, we can do our AC, we can do all that through there. As you walk down the hallway and you go by our mechanical room, and you notice that flat screen that's monitoring stuff, that's all done on a Revit model. Because this building was done in Revit, given to CSI, and now the maintenance department just clicks open the Revit file and says, this room's too cold, let's turn it up, let's do this or that. So it's controlling the building. And so we're trying to make these buildings more efficient and all that stuff as we go through. Okay, so that's what we mean by these BIMs. Okay, and there's quite a few of them out there. SolidWorks, some of you are familiar with it, it's a BIM modeler. Because I can actually tell it brass or copper or whatever I'm using. All right, now the first thing you do when you get into this stuff that people don't really seem to grasp is you gotta set your heights. Okay? Now you got a couple windows you're gonna use. This is your graphics window, just like before. You have these two windows over here. These will change on you. This lower one right here is your navigator. You can grab onto this and drag it off into the other screen. It's like properties. But this is how you're gonna jump between different views. You'll notice on floor plans it's got level 1, level 2, and the site. Well, the site's your land. Level 1's the main floor, level 2's the second floor. And then you come down to your ceiling plans, you see those again. I can click into those views just by double clicking on them here. Okay? So if you just come over into your navigator, and right now you'll notice level 1's bold. That's the view you're looking at right here. So you're looking 4 feet off of the floor. If you click into, this is just level 2, you don't see any change out here, but you just jumped to the second floor at 4 foot off of that floor. Okay. Now we're only going to do a 1 floor thing to start. Notice you got your elevations, east, north, south. This is the first thing we've got to change. So click into your east elevation if you would. Okay, east elevation. And you should see a screen that looks a lot like mine. Did you not have Revit on your desktop? Were you trying to download it, or what did you do?
I haven't seen it.
It's probably behind here. Minimize that thing. Just minimize AutoCAD. Yeah, double click right there. And choose, as soon as it pops up, choose architectural template. We'll wait just a second here. Say I agree or whatever if it's going through licensing.
Can we download this at home also like we are?
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
can,
you
but
can
it's
download this at home if you wish.
Okay.
And it's free.
Is there like something else we need to?
No, just
Download.
Revit. Go architectural templates in the left. And as soon as it pops up, go to your navigator and go to your east elevation. Navigator's lower left. All right, here's where you need to set your heights. Because there's nothing worse than you go ahead and spend all this time modeling, and then you walk your client through it, and they walk into the bathroom and the toilet's floating up here. Okay. We've got to pay attention to that height dimension. You're not going to see it for a little bit. Although once we get something on the screen, you can do anything 3D that you can do 2D. We're going to work in a 2D arena, but this is setting our heights right here. Okay. First step is always setting your floors. So over here on level 1, it's sitting at elevation 0. We're going to leave that. Now that is going to be the top of our main floor. Okay? So right what we're walking on, like right now we're walking on this carpet on top of a piece of concrete. That's our main floor. Let's go ahead and change the name of that. So if you click into that level 1 area, it should highlight. And let's just call this top of main floor. Now, as soon as you hit enter, it's going to say, do you want to keep your views names the same? Say yes to it. Would you like to rename corresponding views? Say yes. Okay, so I've got TO main floor, top of main floor. Now you should see over here in your navigator, level 1's gone. It should now say whatever you named it. So top of main floor. On the top part, we're going to actually use this. This is going to be the top of our wall. Okay. So I'm going to click into the name, and I'm going to call this top of wall. And if you were doing multi-floors, you would say top of wall 1, top of wall 2, whatever the case might be, however you were naming that. Okay. And again, make sure it renames it. Now, we want to set that height. Right now it says 10 foot 0 inches. The base unit in this thing is a foot. Okay, so you kind of got to know that. So where it says 10 foot 0 inches on top of wall, click into that dimension and put 8 foot 1.125 inches and hit enter. 8, and you got to use the foot mark, and then 1.125 inches because that's 1 1/8 inches. Nope.
Put the dash after.
Nope, don't need it.
No.
Just 8 and then the foot mark and then 1.125. Okay. Now you should see it move once that happens. Okay. So you see it kind of moved over to the right elevation. Now I do have some grips on this stuff where I can kind of just move this stuff around if I want. It's not going to be really pertinent to us right now. But you are now setting the heights of these elevations. Okay? That's what we did. Now if I was going to do a foundation underneath it, I would create one down here called bottom of foundation, and that's where I would draw my foundation. If I had a ceiling or a top plate, then I would put all those in to control this elevation that we don't see. Okay? So you always got to pay attention to this.
And you can't set this after it's gone.
You're going to have a ton of editing to do it if you do it after. All right, so we're good on there. Let's go over to the floor plans and click on top of main floor. You got to double click it and it should open that view. So go back to your navigator, go to your, on the floor plans, go to top of main floor. These little marks, by the way, that you're seeing, these are the elevations.
If I don't have this.
If you don't have them, doesn't matter. You might be in a little too close. That's just saying you got these. If I was to delete that, which would be my west elevation, my west would go away. Just leave them in there for now. All right, now across the top, you have your ribbons just like in AutoCAD. Okay, there's quite a few things. You know, you do have structural in here. You do have, if you go to like systems, you'll see you've got ductwork. You can do plumbing. All of that items necessary for the structure. That's where electrical's at too. If you go to the structural tab, here you can see a whole bunch of different structural items. This is the bones of a building. This is where I go for my beams and columns and these types of things. For the most part, we're going to just deal with the architectural ribbon for the first couple times we do this. Okay, so if you would click into the architectural ribbon. There, now, as you come across, do you see where it says wall, door, window, or a component? Well, what do you think wall does? Got walls. What do you think window does? Has families of windows in there. Doors consecutively. Components is where you do kind of unique things that is not in here. Because it's got a bunch that's pre-done. Of course, they can't predict everything. Let's click into wall. Now, as soon as you click into the wall, your ribbon changes, and you have a bunch of stuff that should look pretty familiar with you. This thing's built on the AutoCAD platform, so it still does everything AutoCAD does. Now, as we've got our little, here's copy, rotate, trim, mirror, cuts, another trim. Okay, all those items are still there. Now, they're going to work three-dimensionally. Now, as soon as we clicked into wall, this is the other box. This is your properties dialog box. This is what is also going to control the database behind this thing. So right now, it's going to do an 8-inch wall, or 8 foot. What does that say? I can't read it up there. 8-inch, doesn't it? Okay, it says 8-inch. Are we doing an 8-inch wall?
No.
No, so we want to change this. Okay. Now, the way you do that is you come down here to the family and just click it down, and here's all the walls that are in there. Okay, for now, just go to the generic 6-inch. Choose the generic 6-inch. Then click on, once you do that, click on Edit Type. I'm going to click on Edit Type. Now here's where I get into the individual properties of this generic 6-inch wall. First thing we want to do is we're going to leave this one alone, but this is the closest thing we've got. We want to duplicate it. Okay. So we're in essence making a copy of this wall. Yeah, stop me if you're... So say duplicate, and it's going to want a name. Okay. So I'm just going to call mine an exterior 2x6 wall. So that's pretty standard for our climate, is to do a 2x6 wall exterior. Say okay to that. Is everybody good? A duplicate, and then it should have popped up with a little thing, you name it. If you guys got stuff on your other screen, get all that stuff off of there, because it might be popping behind those windows. Did you get it? Are we still good? Okay. Now, notice on, just when it opened those properties, the very top one that says structure, and it's got a little edit window on it, edit button. Click into that button. This is how it's making the wall. So what it's going to do is a core boundary, that's a 0. Okay, you can apply materials to this. And then it's got the structure, which it's got at 6 inches, and then it's got a core boundary down below. The core boundary is going to separate different items. So we need to edit this so that this thing reads correctly. Okay, so on the thickness, it is not 6 inches. That's our 2x6. Okay? So I'm going to grab that and I'm going to put that in at 5.5 inches.
Five foot, 5 inches.
No, 5.5 inches, no feet. Making a pretty thick wall, 5 foot, 5.5 inches.